Welcome back to the morning show. It's exactly 10 minutes before we get to 8 o'clock. Now we're talking all things money. For many families, each individual plays a key role in what they bring to the table. Now, for some, one is the provider and the other a carer. But what about those households where each party contributes somewhat equally? Now, this morning we're joined by financial advisor Gerald Mwandiambira to guide us on how we can navigate dual income households. Good morning, Gerald. Thank you so much for being with us on the morning show today.
Good morning and morning to all your viewers.
Let's get straight off into it. Dual income and the relationship that comes with managing finances, the complications thereof. Should a relationship be 50-50? Let's go straight for it.
Look, I think every relationship sets its own ground rules, but the main thing is about openness and transparency, especially when you're talking about money. So should it be 50-50? It's up to you. But the most important thing is that money should not be a secret and money should be discussed openly, and there should be an open budget definitely for the household.
I think you said something that is very true in the sense that not all relationships are equal and it is different per relationship. But how do couples go about having the conversation to propose contributing equally? Finances on an individual basis is a very uncomfortable topic, but how does one actually go about bringing it up that they are able to contribute equally?
Well, it's not necessarily contributing equally, but just contributing towards the household. Basically, if you're having that difficulty, engage the services of a financial planning professional, and maybe start there, where you sit down with a professional who's going to map out and look at your household budget. He will then advise you to open a number of accounts. The first bank account is probably your household account, where everything that needs to be paid is paid from. So you receive both your salaries and you pay into the household account, and the money is distributed from there. What's also important for you is for you to still maintain your own individual accounts, and that's from where you will be able to enjoy your pocket money and whatever money you need to do personally. And then finally, you need a fourth bank account, probably, which is the one which you'd use for investing, saving, or even if you call it family responsibility or black tax, where you'd manage that from. So if you have that, you have that openness, you have that transparency in that you maintain your individual financial universe, but at the same time, you have that area and space in the household account where you manage your household budget.
And I mean, one of the things that's been happening over the years, we've seen this perpetuated into many couples and relationships and families. The idea that, there is one sole provider, even though both are earning, and that is the person who carries majority of it. So let's say we cross the bridge to the part where the couple is able to agree to contributing, even if it's not equally, like you've mentioned. How does one then split the responsibilities to ensure everyone is not financially overstretched, that everybody is comfortable to eventually step into a place of the 4 accounts like you've mentioned?
Look, I think it's important that in your relationship or in your partnership, you realize that both of you have your own strengths. You need to identify who's the natural accountant or money manager, and it's not always the male, or nor is it always the one who earns more. What you simply need to do is to have the person who's best responsible for managing finances in charge of that area. Remember, you're only managing the budget and the one account. What goes into your personal account should remain your business, and you should be able to maintain that independence from your partner, as long as your partner knows that you're open and transparent with the main account. It's a new kind of conversation, because we're in Africa, which is a patriarchal society, where the man is supposed to be the one who's in charge of everything. But in practice and in experience, men are not always the better financial managers, especially when it comes to finances, because women are the nurturers. They tend to know best how to employ and to provide for families.
From your perspective, Gerald, as financial advisor, I mean, you've probably had many couples and families coming to you with the question in terms of how to manage the dual income that comes into the household. Would you say, as South Africans, we're akin to moving to a place where we are allowing ourselves to be transparent, number one. Number two, to also put responsibilities equally so, or distribute them in a way that makes the family function better and our finances be able to grow from there? Are we finding that there's an uptrend when it comes to this as South Africans, especially like you've mentioned, where we come from a history of the man is the leader of the house?
Look, I think we're still very far from where we need to be in terms of openness and transparency. What you tend to find in most relationships is that there's a degree of financial infidelity, which is basically where one party doesn't, where there's not full disclosure. So financial infidelity is either receiving income or spending income with the other partner not knowing what necessarily is going on. And often that leads to infidelity in its truest sense, in that the couple ends up breaking up because of that. We are far. I think we still are learning to become open and transparent around finances. And it's best inculcated in young couples or people going through marriage counseling to have these money conversations freely and openly, because often you find that some of the established marriages are in that situation where there's still no true financial disclosure and there's still financial infidelity. And in answer to your question, no, many couples still don't discuss money openly.
Sure. Looking forward to a time where we can definitely say the opposite of what you've mentioned, where we've made some great headway. Are there any shortfalls or negatives, so to say, when it comes to households with dual income that one can look out for?
Look, the main negative happens where there's no full disclosure, because you can actually pick up liabilities, and those affect the family when things go wrong. So if you don't have full disclosure, one of you can be carrying debt which no one knows about, and it only goes pear-shaped when people knock on the door and say we've come to collect. So the main pitfall is that with two incomes, two people can be too independent in terms of how they run their own personal finances, and this exposes the other party to things which they might not even know about. So yes, the biggest drawback in two dual income households, especially when you both couple or both parties earn good incomes, is that they are very vulnerable to blind spots in terms of not actually fully disclosing, or simply thinking that the other partner can take care of it, and often you end up not doing it at all.
Gerald, before we wrap up our time together, I think you've said some very key points speaking about financial fidelity, and more importantly, the moment that no one wants to experience someone knocking at the door saying they've come to collect. So for someone who's watching right now, a couple that may be listening to this conversation, and they want to be able to take the next step to do better, what are the three simple things that you can say shortly for us that a person can do today to start to account a little bit more when it comes to dual income households?
Look, if you're in that situation where there's things which your partner needs to start knowing about, get in touch with a financial planning professional. Number one, call someone, get help. Number two, prepare your partner. Tell them that we have to have a meeting around the household finances. And number three is always make sure you always have a budget in the first place. So I would say number one is get someone to help you, financial professional, to become the referee who's going to have that tough conversation and disclose things which were never disclosed. Secondly, prepare your partner that you have not been totally forthright, and that's why you've called this meeting. And thirdly, before you have that meeting, maybe sit down and say, look, let's discuss our household budget and where we stand. And it's important because that might be the icebreaker, which just makes it a little bit easier for when you go into the big ring with the financial planner and actually start having to disclose and start having to deal with the challenges, but you can get out of debt.
Sounds like it's a very big process, talking about the ring and a referee and battles between the couple. Gerald, thank you so much for your time this morning and bringing some light on that one. And I think it's a very important conversation, so thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
The money topic is always a tricky one to have in some relationships because it almost feels like it's personal and reflecting on your ability to handle finances, but you want to be able to bring it out to the light. And a big thank you to financial advisor Gerald Mwandiambira for his guidance on this topic this morning. Stay with us, still so much more coming up just after this.